Welcome to Moonbeaming, a podcast about lunar living, magic, creativity, tarot, and more. I'm your host, Sarah Faith Gottesdiener, and I'm so honored and excited to be here with you today. Hello and welcome. If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Moonbeaming. This is a podcast where we explore art, magic, intuition, tarot, archetypes, astrology, business, relationships, psychology, and the various beverages I happen to have next to me while I record. Today, it's yerba mate and limoncello liqueur. Gotta always have at least 2 bevies. Am I right or am I right? I'm your host, Sarah Faith Gottesdiener. I run a creative studio called The Moon Studio. We provide spiritual tools and guides, beautiful workshops all about magic, tarot, creativity, healing, boundaries, abundance, intuition, the elements. I think we're going to do one next year with business and many other resources and tools for your creative, intuitive, compassionate self. If you have been a longtime listener, thank you. I cannot believe it, but we're 2 years in to this project. It'll be 2 years in autumn, and 700,000 downloads we have, and many more streams. And that's all thanks to you. I'm so grateful to you, gentle listener. Thank you for supporting completely independent media. I am so grateful. Today, I am answering questions from my patrons about money. I said, ask me anything about money. They asked so many amazing questions. I'm answering a few of them today. This is to celebrate a sale I'm having for a workshop I created, Money Alchemy. It is a workshop all about transforming your relationship to worth. It came out 1 year and 1 month ago, and I'm really proud of it. I got tons of great feedback from it. It has helped over 400 people so far. And as I think about offering more workshops around money and revisited the content from this one, I still stand by it. I still think it's awesome. And I wanted to celebrate because, listen, in business, and in life, right? If you don't celebrate your creations, first of all, no one will. No one will celebrate it for you. And secondly, what's the point of creating, right? Like, yes, we have to put things out. Yes, we want to be helpful. And also, we want to celebrate that we did it. Creating something is great. So I'm having a celebration by talking about it here, patting myself on the back, putting it on sale. It's on sale now until early next week for the most affordable it's ever been. So if you've been interested in it or just like ready to dig into money stuff now, this is a great starting point. Pick it up. The link is in the show notes. And for my patrons of the show, there's another episode in Patreon just for you where I answer more of your questions because there's so many. They were so great. And I'll keep having these patron ask away question secret podcasts, both on the public podcast, this here public podcast, and also on the secret podcast for Patreon supporters. And on the episodes for the patrons, I go more into depth around tarot cards, how to work with tarot cards. I generally share more of my life because I feel safer. And I don't edit. I just really speak freely. So if you're interested in that, if you want to know more, if you want to go deeper, and you want to support this podcast sign up. Okay, let's get into these awesome questions about materialism, money magic, and more. I am starting off with such a great question. Here goes. Have you ever confronted spiritual materialism in your witchcraft? Can you share any tips on dealing with it? As I have been getting more disciplined with meditation and spell work, I've found myself feeling entitled to certain outcomes and rewards for said newfound discipline, i.e., impatience with spells taking too long, exact outcomes not coming to fruition. While witchcraft has changed me for the better, I still struggle with this desire for external accomplishment or reward for walking the spiritual path. You were the first person I heard mention this term. I'm working on reading Trungpa's book, so I'm curious if you have any tips for a witch seeking to stay the spiritual course in this fucked up material world. Raise his hand, can relate. Can you relate? I can relate. What a great question. Thank you so much for asking this. I'd like to start off by noting that there's always been a fraught, sometimes shame-filled, and definitely confusing relationship between spiritual/magical practices and money. It's often been extreme in the West. For example, there's monks and nuns at one end, this archetype of the hermit needing almost nothing, right? Monks and nuns usually take poverty vows. And at the other end, there's popes and mega church pastors alongside this insidious New Age belief that we can track back in the United States, episode for another day, that says if you are a spiritual person, you will make more money. And if you don't make more money, there's this implication that there's something wrong with you. We can also follow this total fallacy. We know this is completely untrue. I know I don't have to go into all of that with you, gentle listener. We can also follow it through to witchcraft in the sense that often we're casting spells for our material conditions to change. Not always, but a lot of the time. So we've got to be careful, and we've got to unpack a lot internally and see what's going on. Even the book author that you mentioned, the author of Spiritual Materialism, which I really enjoyed. When I posted it on social media, people told me that the author was accused of terrible things. So even the author of that allegedly succumbed to perhaps their own version of do as I say, not as I do. So there's all of that confusion. There's so many loaded associations and extremes between money/materialism, depending on the spiritual system and tradition. And in a lot of traditional witchcraft, which is of the people, for the people, relates a lot to material conditions, health, money, safety, love, and for external success because we live in a material world. In my very humble opinion, I believe there's nothing wrong with casting spells for external outcomes. Nothing wrong at all. And also, I stopped doing spells for specific external outcomes a long time ago because they didn't always work. Maybe there's a witch out there who can cast a spell to get that one job or have a certain exact amount of income or outcome, but I'm not that witch. In fact, the more I find that I fixate on particular, exact, certain outcomes, the less happy I am and the less joyful my practice is. I do have numbers. I do have non-negotiables, let's say, when I'm casting a spell, but they leave openings for things to happen in any number of different ways. I'm more vague in what I'm casting a spell for, like an awesome new friend or helpful and honest collaborators. I'm not thinking of a specific person, but I can cast a spell for support or for new connections. And when an interesting person crosses my path, I can then take action on it. The second thing I want to say is, and I've said this so many times, but here we are again. Magic is fundamentally about relationships and collaborations. It changes you. You are changed by casting a spell, by deepening a relationship with an herb or element or color. You're changed by a conversation you have with an aspect of your consciousness when you're in meditation or trance. You are changed by a tarot spread. A magical practice isn't about control. We're submitting and surrendering to the unknown. It's a foundation of a magical practice, and I think it's key to understand this and keep this in mind. Yes, we can influence outcomes. That's real. I literally stopped rain once. Like a group of people saw it. It was for my wedding rehearsal dinner. I was like, please rain, just hold off for like 2 hours. But like I could do that because I was in relationship with air and with water. By that time, I'd had over a decade of relationship with the elements on my side. And I had a relationship with the elements because I love and respect them, not because I wanted control over them. Magic in this way is just like love. I love Hecate even if she never lifts a finger for me. I love her, period. This goddess has given me so much simply for existing as an energy and an archetype in the world. So when I thank her, I also thank all of those who keep her keys, all of those who have kept her alive. And I am in turn grateful for that connection. Spells with desired outcomes also come to fruition because we're shifting our attention, we're shifting our awareness, we're shifting our energy. And the more that we do that and take action around the desired outcome, the more doors open up for us, the more paths open up for us to go in a particular way. We are moving fate lines, and that's where the discipline and the practice comes from it. And that's another aspect of magical practice I want to point out, which is that the doing is the reward. Being able to focus your energy and hone your awareness, fine tune your attention, keep your desires, your North Star squarely in front of you for a prolonged period of time is one of the benefits of a magical practice. It's very chariot too. Like, I'm thinking a lot about these topics because I'm doing the 2023 Many Moons Lunar Planner. So I'm always sort of like half in this year's energy and half in next year's energy. But so this is what I'm thinking about. So it's like chariot coming through. The next point that I would like to share is it's my opinion that we want our life to be full of symptoms of the practice and our desires, not absolutes, not absolute outcomes. What I mean by that is, let's say I exercise 5 days a week. The symptoms mean that I'm stronger. The symptoms of that means maybe I'm in less chronic pain. The practices, in my opinion, must be enough to warrant positive symptoms of a holistic life that reflect our core desires. That meditation you do every day, your reward, other than the meditation itself, which can be positively lovely, your reward is that you spiral out 15% less. Guess what? You probably won't even notice that you're spiraling out 15% less until you take a break from meditating. Say you take a 2-week break, right? We've all been there. Can the spell itself, the practice itself, be enough? Because as you know, the spell has a desired outcome. In the act of the spell itself, there's change. And speaking on this entrapment aspect of materialism, which is attachment, I've found greater success in spell workings when I'm less attached. And paradoxically, more sure. That's also another chariot theme that I'll probably be expounding upon. I'm definitely expounding upon it in Many Moons, and I'll probably do it on the pod next year. Like, there's this shift between entitlement and simply being sure that the thing is going to happen in divine time. All the money magic I did for years, trying to heal my relationship to money and also make more money, that was to have more money. That was a direct desire. But what else was it for? It was to heal my wounds around feeling like I could not provide for myself, which was linked to my inherent worth and healing. So I had to do practices that helped to support and heal my self-esteem, my inherent worth. I knew that I had made strides in my healing when I started to make more money. Sure. And also, I knew that I was beginning to heal a lot more when I had the realization that I finally didn't care what I did for a living. And I realized, let me back up, actually. Let me clarify this. I didn't care about the perceptions of other people, and I was no longer attaching my inherent worth, my self-love, my self-respect to what I did for a living. And I realized I could always support myself because I always had supported myself, even if it wasn't in this extremely abundant way. I always had food and I always had shelter. So I encourage your magic to be holographic and multidimensional, and to also contribute to greater healing practices that are probably also in some level linked to greater healing for your ancestors, greater healing for the collective, as well as, like, to be clear, centering you. This, of course, is centering you. I think that's great. to do so, by the way. I'm not here to correlate a spiritual magical practice with martyrdom. We're not doing that anymore. So take care of you first. In an episode I did, I don't know, a year ago, the title is Magic as Life Design. This is precisely what I talk about. We have these core foundations we're casting spells for and cultivating in our lives. And these are reflections of this well-rounded life that we desire. And that's what I believe we want to orient towards. It's very value-based. It's very desire-based. It's very much in conversation with our purpose, our higher self, who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, who we're becoming. It's not about this like exact person liking us, or this exact job hiring us, or this exact cabin in the woods. Can that happen? Heck yes, it can happen. We've all experienced that. But why do we need that to happen? The last thing I want to say about this is keep having desires. Keep going after them. Don't limit yourself. Consider the motivation and why you're going for it. Because magic is not a quick fix, as you've shared. I've found in my own life that the baby witch phase, where you start casting spells or sitting down to meditate, is amazing. Because we cast these spells, we get amazing results, and we tend to begin believing that that's always how it's going to be. But it's my belief that magic is called the spiral path because it's about healing, and that's layered. And healing doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always give us the exact outcomes we want. And sometimes we're being taught greater lessons through not getting or receiving those exact certain outcomes, like learning lessons of patience, or learning lessons of humility or surrender, or learning lessons about pivoting or reorientation. And even the most skilled magician has limits on what they can and can't do. And that's fine. We're humans. So I love this question. I could say so much more about it, but thanks for asking it. And I hope this helps. And the short answer is, yeah, like I've encountered spiritual materialism. We all have. We're humans. We love beauty. We love things that are erotic and remind us of our own vitality. And that's what the material world is for. I'm very much opposed to taking an extreme in either direction. Because part of enjoying life and having a magical life is about the material realm. There's that famous quote, "All acts of love and pleasure are my rituals." There's nothing wrong with wanting a beautiful life, however you define that. The issue is always when it becomes a trap. The issue is always when we use it to feel bad. The issue is always when we bring our own perfectionism or entitlement to the practice in a way that inhibits our enjoyment and our growth. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Thanks again. Next question. I work as a bank manager and pride myself on giving my family, friends, and clients sound financial advice. I see firsthand the struggles people go through to support themselves, their families, and businesses. I have often thought about how I can ethically help people through my magical practice, especially if I've not received their consent. In my industry, it is not easy to let people see that side of me without potential loss of business. I would love to know your thoughts and advice on how I can use money magic to help people. What a wonderful person you are, and what a wonderful question. Thank you for this. The first thing I just want to say is most likely by being a compassionate, ethical person in an industry that, in my humble experience, mostly is not, you're probably already doing enough. By helping people, maybe giving them opportunities that others might not, by being a great manager, by offering up education freely, you are doing something great. But that's not your question. Your question is, how can I use money magic to help people? So here are some ideas that came to the top of my mind. Number one, money magic includes how you spend your money. Tithing is not only a church kind of concept, like passing the hat, it's also a magical one. Spend your money on reparations, on land back, grassroots orgs you believe in, on supporting local nonprofits like homeless shelters, or donate to those in your community. Use a magic number of your income and donate monthly. Maybe also at your bank, you have a business of the month where someone who's gotten a loan from you, you say, hey, like, we want to promote you. Do you want to run a special? We'll put it out like to our people. We'll have like a poster. We'll give people business cards and we'll promote you. We'll support you. You're a small business. Do you want to be business of the month? Like, those kinds of things are great if they're in your capacity and they feel like they're aligned. Number two, you are right. In general, witches don't practice magic involving another person without their consent. This is very Witch 101. I even extend this to positive magic because we're meddling, like we're meddling in someone's affairs, you know? We can certainly ask a friend or a colleague if they would like us to do a spell for their upcoming job interview or launch or court case. That's totally fine. Personally, I hesitate to do anything for anyone else non-consensually other than just send them good vibes, you know? And also, you can make an altar to the energy of the customers that visit your bank. That amplifies the energy of those you come into contact with, that amplifies the supportive energy, that amplifies the abundant energy. You can have that altar be a place where you commit to tending to. Maybe you also bring in Mercury, who is often associated with merchants and exchange. Maybe you bring in the moon, who very much correlates with money magic. I mean, really any planet relates if you are collaborating with them. But think about, do you want to bring in some saints, deities? Dedicate an altar to money being useful and supportive through you and the container of your job, extending out to the overall financial abundance of those that cross the threshold of your work or your desk. You can create a work altar, right? You can in your job, and like in the drawer of, say, a filing cabinet or your desk, that boosts the abundance of all those who come into contact with you and through you. Have you connected to the spirit of your bank or the spirit of your purpose as being the manager of this institution, or the spirit of the community you're helping. You can totally do that and have the spirit of purpose, or the spirit of vocation, or the spirit of the bank. Offer them blessings. You can set intentions for the day when you first get to work. You can also create another secret altar that no one will know about, where you get a big plant, put it at the doorway, and then put pyrite, citrine, maybe even some money in the soil, maybe some petitions, maybe some intentions that all who cross the threshold are supported, educated, and only become more financially abundant. Because that's connected to your vocation and what you're doing. A third idea I had is like thinking about what you can just do at your workplace. If you are the manager, can you instate a policy or 2 or 3 or 4 where you are supporting your workers? Maybe those who work there can get half a Friday a month, or a couple of half Fridays a month, off and paid. Maybe you can think about better benefits for folks, or a childcare stipend, or maybe you provide free lunch to everyone who works with you twice a month. What can you do within your control and capacity to make your workplace more abundant and supportive for everyone who is employed there, from the security guard to the janitors to the salespeople? Can you start an initiative somehow through your branch that collects a certain amount of percentages and gives back? I don't know what's in your sphere of influence. Maybe you use your expertise and put together a basics education packet for those you work with around their options and choices that everyone gets, right? Simply beyond giving them a loan or helping them with their credit or something like that, right? Maybe you research other advisors that you vibe with that put out free content, useful content, and then you put them as a resource list for your customers to utilize. I don't know. Again, maybe you're already doing all of this. The fourth idea I had, if you feel called with your free time, I know we've all got a lot of free time, create a channel where you anonymously give advice to folks. Maybe it's a YouTube channel. Maybe it's a website. Maybe it's time for you to, a couple of sessions a month, give free or low cost education to folks, or offer yourself up to more friends or friends of friends, or even, see if there are shelters supporting people who are recovering from domestic violence in your community, where you go there for 2 hours and you share education, and maybe you even position yourself or the bank as a resource, if possible, if in alignment. These are just some ideas that I thought of. I hope all of this is useful. And I just want to underscore that living magically, it's not always spells, Money magic can also be quite practical. It's usually a bit of both and. So good luck. Let us know what happened. Hopefully some of these ideas either aligned with you and you can implement them, or they will spark some inspiration, or they might just offer affirmation that you're already doing a lot of really wonderful work already. Next question. How does someone actually stick to a budget? I've never been able to. And I shift from saving everything to spending everything. There's no in between. Perhaps it's the ADHD, or maybe it's the adopted attitudes towards money. I would love to feel more in control of my finances. Love this question. I think a lot of us have had similar experiences. especially when we didn't have anyone teaching us about financial management, and especially when finances are so often linked to our somatic states and past experiences with money. For example, let's say you grew up not having any money. You subconsciously might either believe you aren't allowed to have money, you can't hold on to money, or you might feel comfortable with a certain amount. So when you get to that number and you go above it, your nervous system and subconscious overrides your psyche and you feel like you have to give it away. You get anxious. The first thing I'm going to share is this sounds like this is about understanding that we need to be in a flow with money. Money comes in, money comes out, there's a rhythm to it, and it's a flow. Stopping and starting, hoarding and or overspending feels like a reflection of lack of trust that money can flow freely. It also seems like it could be a reflection of scarcity behavior. That is absolutely behavior that has been learned. It's subconscious. You didn't create it, but you now get to change it starting now. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step framework that you can adopt, adapt, or use as a springboard or inspiration for your process with this. Okay, you ready? You got your pen and your paper? You're taking notes? Okay, let's go. Step 1. This step is going to be hard for you, and you must do it. You have to make a budget. And you make a budget by first looking up everything you spend every month on necessities, rent, bills, car payment, student loans, gas, food, everything you need to survive. And get really clear on that number. It's the easiest to get those numbers in general because it's not like your cell phone or internet bill changes every month. Go into your bank statements for the last 4 months, print them out, and just start a Google Doc or spreadsheet or Notion doc of everything. You can even put it in your notes app. It's fine. Then see what you spend on non-essentials. Look over the last 4 months, like clothes, travel, treats, weed, I don't know, anything you buy regularly that makes your life easier, better, simply part of your lifestyle. Write out the average of 4 months of spending, a full season. 1 month, it's not good enough. You need a longer arc. So look it all over, write it all out, get those numbers, put them into subcategories like clothing, entertainment, recreational drugs, sweet treats, parking, I don't know. Get it all together, get those numbers. This is the part you're just going to dislike it so much. But schedule a day to do it. Get yourself some yerba mate, get yourself some sparkly water, some snacks, try to make it fun. Put on some music, dance around. After you've got those numbers, add in another 15 to 20% of that total amount on there. That represents unexpected stuff, things like birthday gifts or those expenses no one really accounts for, like your car needing a new tire or something like that. Okay. All right. So great. You did that. It was annoying, maybe eye-opening. Perhaps you got a little bit dragged, but you did it. Great. Now celebrate and just like chill for a day or two. Like you did it. Just like walk away, just let that settle, let that integrate. Okay. Step 2, also essential. Get clear on those categories, right? Step 1, different categories, putting them into different buckets, and then group like ones together as much as possible. And then create separate savings accounts for each of those. A lot of banks that are bigger and that do online banking will let you link your checking account to multiple savings accounts. I think right now I have 4 or 5. So, one is the essentials. That's like your checking account. Rent, cell phone, student loans, all that, right? I'd also put household items like toilet paper, sponges, and utilities, like just the kind of more boring stuff you need to live. And then another category would probably be food. And you can mix and match. Maybe it's like food that you buy at the grocery store and also food you buy at the restaurant. I don't know. This is like however it works best in your ADHD brain, so just subcategory. The others are like, maybe things like a vacation or a fun savings account, I think are necessary, right? Like a savings account just for fun, and then a savings account for savings, and then maybe even a savings account for something specific you're saving for, like a weekend away or a fancy dinner for your anniversary. Again, I don't know. It's your life, not mine. But remember, you have to have a savings account. You must. If you don't, create a link, get a linked savings account. If you already have a savings account, do some research, put your money in a fund, like a mutual fund that makes a decent return, and or start a retirement account if you haven't already. Okay, do that if you already have savings and you don't have a retirement fund or a mutual fund, okay? Then start another savings account that just lives cash in your bank account. And we want that savings account to be 3 or 4 months of living expenses. If you make decent money, and by that I mean you're not living paycheck to paycheck, immediately when you get paid, immediately put a doable, meaningful number away each month, like 13% of your monthly income or $444 or whatever it is that you can do. I think like the old school number was we're supposed to be putting 20 or 30% of our income away in like savings. I think the general financial advice is to be able to pay your budget, like your necessities. And I think 2 weeks, I could be wrong, but I think that is so not accurate. It's such a fake upper middle class, weird startup financial industry number in light of our world and what is going on in our world. So like F the shoulds, think about what you can put aside, and then again, sprinkle a little bit more on top of it. Just a little bit more. Like check out your bank account on a random Saturday and be like, you know what? I'm going to put $60 more into that savings account. Now, for those of you who are listening who really are broke or feel like you can't put any money aside, just try to put $18 a week, $20 a week into a savings account. Then in 6 months or 4 months, try to put a little bit more, like 33 or 44. Because you've done step 1. You know what you already usually spend on all of the things. And so you know what you're going to put in each one, each paycheck you get. And then when it's time to like go to the grocery store, then you go into your food account and you take out $40, right? So like it's that out of sight, out of mind, which is the ADHD of it all. Those of us with nonlinear brains, It's so hard for us to make budgets. It's so hard for us to make spreadsheets and to stick to them in general. But what are we fueled by? Interest and emotion and simplicity and results with the things that are more challenging for us and or more abstract. So you make these buckets, these containers for your money, which serves as a budget. And you out of sight and out of mind them, especially with your savings. In your mind, be clear, you're never allowed to touch your savings. It's away, it's gone. And anyway, maybe you put it in a separate account, like a mutual fund or retirement account that requires another login. Maybe in the beginning, you give the passcode to your bestie, if you really trust them, for the first 6 months of trying this. Remember, out of sight, out of mind is good for us. In this case, let's let our ADHD tendencies work in our favor. Let's utilize them. Step 3 is another important part. These parts are all important. Begin over time, slowly reprogramming your relationship to money somatically, subconsciously. This includes our nervous system. What I'm talking about is tracking your body with compassion and curiosity and noticing what comes up when, say, you're online shopping at 1 a.m. Is this linked to stress or cortisol, like a hyper response? Maybe it's boredom or dissatisfaction with life. It's hypo. You're kind of like disassociating and numbing out. Notice that. Notice your responses and then gently put the computer down, take some breaths, try to regulate your nervous system. The subconscious aspect is changing the narrative as well. You're no longer someone who can't stick to a budget. You are someone who is working on budgeting and getting better every day, every week. You're getting better. You're finding ways to make it fun, meaningful, and rewarding because you're interested in shifting your relationship to money and the different things that money represents for you. I found the word you used telling. You used the word in control. I have a hunch that this is probably what this issue is linked to as well. Feeling out of control. When you feel out of control, you might either hoard money to help make you feel more secure or spend it all, perhaps as a subconscious self-punishment or self-blame, and or to remind your nervous system and subconscious of times when you had less money and felt less in control. So notice what happens when you feel out of control in some way and the stories and somatics linked to that behavior. How can you transform your relationship to spending so that it's meaningful and intentional? One thing you can also do is keep a running list of things you like or want to buy in a Google Doc, or again, like Notes app, Notion, whatever works for you. Then at the start of the month, when you pay your rent, when you pay your bills, and you have put your savings away in those, or you've put the rest of your money away in those different bank accounts, and your nervous system is regulated and calm because your basics are all accounted for, and you have the money, buy one of those things on your list. Treat yourself. If there's a bigger item you've been eyeing, like an iPad or something, create a special savings account just for that, and then parse out how you're going to purchase that, put savings in it over the course of a few weeks or months, because you want to get out of the habit of recklessness in spending. You want to be able to reorient towards a kind of more in control of your finances. The other thing is when you're putting savings aside automatically, this trains your nervous system, your mind, your subconscious, the neural pathways to get comfortable with saving. Not, I either hoard everything I have or I give it all away. You can tell yourself, I'm safe to save. My desires and needs and my safety are worth prioritizing. I kind of went over this, but I want to underscore this like little last tip for you and for everyone listening, which can be a game changer. Have some of the money you're saving attached to some purpose, maybe all the money you're saving. So like you call it hoarding. What you might call hoarding, a financier might call saving. The difference is in how you're thinking about it and how you're using it. I think sometimes we lose motivation with saving, especially ADHD people, when we don't have a motivation, when we don't really know what we're saving for. When we don't know, we don't have clarity, that takes away motivation, and it just makes it a lot easier to blow it, right? So choose clear purposes for your money and your saving practices, and choose clear financial goals. Also, the purpose, of course, is going to be meaningful. It's going to be strategic, and have that link to some kind of positive emotion as well. Examples like this are retirement that doesn't really excite us. In fact, like I'd argue retirement can fill a lot of us with like an odd dread. I mean, I'm here for it, but no one's doing cartwheels thinking about retirement funds. At least, again, I'm just speaking for myself. So another example of this strategy might be you have your retirement fund, but you also have an account that is an FU fund. As you know, an FU fund is savings, 3 to 6 months, maybe longer, where you can, it's a freedom fund where you can leave a job, or you just know like you're good. No matter what happens, you can figure it out in 6 months. And that's a great exercise to try because it's giving you this goal. Sometimes I envision the energy of money as this adorable little cute Australian shepherd, like that needs a job, that wants a job to do. So, you know, the spirit of money, if that's in your practice, I believe wants to flow, wants to enrich our lives. So maybe that's what could be like a strategy for you, getting clearer about what you want your money to do for you, and then taking behaviors around that. I'm going to share one last tip. I try to do this. I've fallen off, and I know it's come in for me to share because I need to do this. And that is once in a while, 1 week, every few months or so, is consciously detaching from spending, overspending by sticking to a super frugal budget for 1 week. Maybe I tightly budget my non-essentials. Maybe I only buy food, get really frugal, just eating beans and rice, nom nom for 10 days, and live really frugally. Maybe I just order seltzer when I go out, and or see how creative you can get with like free entertainment, or even just take care of things in your household, like painting the cabinets or, darning socks or something, or learning a new skill. Because I think this serves as a great reminder that we don't have to spend money on as many things as we do for those of us who have an income that affords us to do so, so we don't need to mindlessly shop or make purchases out of some emotional need, right? It reorients us, and it also helps us save money. So I'm going to add more tips in this vein in the Money Magic Growth Component episode for patrons around this. So patrons, hold on for that. It's probably already in Patreon. So hopefully all of this is giving you ideas and inspiration, and just give yourself a reasonable amount of time to get through all of this. Give yourself 1 lunar cycle. Maybe you started a new moon and you're kind of made progress on it during the waning moon. So try that. Don't try to get it done all in, say, 1 day. And don't even try to have the practice be completely nailed down for you and refined in 1 month. This is a process, and you need to figure out what works for you and your unique brain and your unique needs. As always, this is what I've got. If you like this episode, do let us know in the reviews. And if you do, I'll do more of these in the future, because you all know I could talk about money for hours. And if you want to hear me talk about money for hours, you can sign up for my Patreon. There's this whole other episode, or you can download the Money Alchemy Workshop. It's a great, robust offering where I break down some challenges I see folks having around money stuff. And I also offer up some ways to transform their relationship to money. There is a PDF meditation. Folks have loved it. It's on sale for the next little while, the only time it shall be on sale this year, and you can download it today. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Be kind to yourself and others, and I will be back soon. Moon Beaming is brought to you by the Moon Studio. It is created and hosted by me, Sarah Faith Gottesdiener. It is edited by Rose Blakelock with a lot of additional help from Hazel Frew. It is supported by our beautiful patrons, which you can join over at patreon.com, The Moon Studio. If you would like to further support the podcast, you can sign up for a sponsorship. You can rate and review it, or share it with your friends or on your social media. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so much.